Welcome, everyone. We're in a weird time right now. There's a lot of uncertainty out in the marketplace. And when you are unsure, you need to make smart decisions, but also stop worrying about what you can't control and focus on the things that you can control. Things like your reputation, your relationships, your past client strategy, and your prospecting strategy. Do you have enough fishing lines out in the water to build a pipeline of future business? These are the foundations or the building blocks of a successful real estate career. And you've heard me say that before. So right now, more than ever, you need to be digital first. You need to have systems. You need mentorship to weather you through the storm. And business doesn't stop. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Like I said, you need to build a pipeline of future business. But what does that look like? You need smarter strategies. And now more than ever, you need to execute. And to help me paint a picture of what all of that looks like, I'm joined by real estate coach, CEO, and business mentor who helps real estate professionals just like you do just that day in and day out. Tom Ferry, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Ricardo. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your tribe.
Tom, it's crazy times. There's a lot of angst, I think, out in the marketplace. And a lot of people are thinking, man, my plan's off for the year. Or a lot of people are thinking there's a lot of fear in the marketplace. How do you handle your current transactions? And what does business moving forward look like? So I thought we can break this up into a couple of different conversations. Maybe the first one that we start with is mindset, because for a lot of people, what the heck is going on, right? And we can't control this, but there's certain things we can do. Where do we start?
Yeah, that really is the question. And I'm going to answer it two ways. First, I'll tell you that just in the last week, I probably talked to 75 plus teams and team leaders. I've done, more content and more training than you could probably imagine around all the things that matter today. Your marketing, your messaging, your branding, how important your tone is today. And even this morning with, several thousand people in our program, having a conversation with them just around mental toughness and mindset routines. And the thing that I'm stressing to people right now is, look, for 31 years, I've been doing these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Affirmations, which, some people would make fun of, or, writing goals, or, having a morning routine that fires you up. And the reality is we do those things for these moments.
Mm-hmm.
And the hard part is right now, there's a lot of people that are finally recognizing
that we need to do these things.
Yeah, that thoughts are things that, like everyone's got a reticular activating system in our brain. And, if you keep thinking about all this bad stuff, then all you're going to find is more of the same. No different from the old example of if you wanted a new white Lexus, everywhere you drove, all you saw was a white Lexus. It's the same thing. So I'm seeing people like in three different categories right now. I'm seeing people that are in an absolute state of panic, right? And listen, I don't wish ill will on anybody. I say, blessings to them, and I wish them peace. And if they're in the real estate business, I remind them that we need them to come back, right? We need them to get, facts and data, get out of the right side of your brain with the emotion and the fear and get to the left side, right? Look at KCM as an example, Keeping Current Matters, and the content that they're putting out, which is, designed to help us help clients. But it starts first with helping yourself, right? I talked to a woman a couple of days ago. She actually told me that she's tracking the death rate in every state by county.
Oh, no.
And I said to her, do you have children? And she said, yeah. And I said, I could only imagine what the dinner table's like, the conversations. If you're a real estate agent and that's what you're tracking right now, like that's what you're focusing on. And she said, I just think it's important. And I said, I'm not questioning if it's important or not. I'm questioning what impact does that have on your emotional state? And then we all know how you feel on the inside radiates people on your outside, right?
100%.
So if that's what you're thinking about, you're in trouble. But the 100%. Second group is the group that's like, every agent knows the phrase ghosting, right? You meet an agent, Ricardo, or you meet a prospect, you meet a buyer, you meet a seller, and they're all excited and you're jiving, you have a great relationship, and all of a sudden they just go dark on you. And I'm seeing a lot of agents going dark right now, right? And we know that the first rule of leadership is to see things as they are, not better, not worse, see it as they are. And number two, communicate like crazy. Communicate so everybody understands what to do. And if you're going dark right now, right, and you're not communicating, you're out of sight, out of mind. You're breaking the first rule of trust, which is connection, which is conversation, which is dialogue, right? So you've spent a year or 50 building trust and credibility in your brand, in your marketplace, right, as an agent that people trust to go to, and you've gone dark on them, right? You're killing trust. And then thank goodness, because of guys like you and myself and many others, we've got these incredible tribes that are in various stages rallying around the country, and in my case, around the world,
Right.
to communicate, to message, and to help people. I only have 3 rules. Number 1 is safety first, right? And that means you, your family, your health and vitality, your team, your tribe, your community. It also
100%.
means your finances, right?
Right.
And we've been talking to a lot of people about their finances right now, making sure that they're ready for, what's to come. The second rule is you got to keep your business moving forward. I know we'll talk about that. And the third one is you better be loading the cannon. Specifically, like, you better be prospecting and marketing, right? But you just have to do it differently today, right? The right tone and the right message. So thank goodness there's a third of us out there that are doing the right stuff. And I'm praying for that 2/3 of the other group to come back, because we can't do this alone. We need everybody to help.
Right. So maybe this is a good time to talk about messaging. I've seen a lot of brands who are completely tone deaf to what's going on right now. And I've seen a lot of, there isn't a playbook for how to communicate during a pandemic. Where a lot of us are making it up as we go. How do you find that right balance? And is now a good time to sell?
It's interesting talking with clients and then people that have contacts and relationships within China, Shanghai, Beijing. Like, as we sit here, on April 3rd, they're back. Right. Mm-hmm. If I call, my buddy who, runs one of the biggest real estate companies, and his office is headquartered in Milan, right? Right now they're in survival mode, right? Mm-hmm. They're, fortunately, knock on wood, it looks like they're getting closer to the end of this. Mm-hmm. Where if I called somebody in New York City today, they feel like they're in the thick of it. And then I call somebody in Phoenix, Arizona, and they say, I opened up 40 escrows last week, right? So I think the most important thing is to understand the situation that you're in, right? Your company, your broker, your rules, right? And making sure you're paying attention to that, right? I talked to a client a couple of days ago in New York City. She sold a $1.2 million house, right? Or apartment, right? Sight unseen by the buyer. Now, the seller was able to take Zoom and walk around and show it and have a conversation. The buyer could ask questions, and, and it's very complex to do, business always in New York City, but let alone in this environment.
Right.
So the thing that I tell people is, tone is everything. Right. Everything you have that's automated in terms of marketing, turn it off. Right. You're seeing the same thing I'm seeing.
Yep.
People go, hey, the spring market is here. And I'm going, oh my goodness, please. Right.
Right.
I think the 2 people, 2 hour rule is really important right now. Hey, I'm going to do a social post, right? And I'm going to show it to 2 people, and I'm going to wait 2 hours before I post it. Right. I'm going to get some feedback at the minimum, because, I told people on April Fool's Day, today is not the day to make jokes.
No, not at all.
Right. And like, I made fun of myself, right? Which, you can do, but even then I have to be mindful that some people could take it the wrong way.
Right.
Sending out a just listed and a just sold card today is probably a bad idea, but maybe just a stark black and white postcard that just says, we're in this together. Right. Like, that kind of messaging is just a little more sensitive and mindful for prospects today, because every one of us knows someone that's going to be impacted by this, whether it's impacted financially or, heaven forbid, impacted in a health way. So I think you need to keep your hand on your heart when you're writing that message or typing that out or thinking about that video you're going to shoot, and just be very mindful of where people are at.
Right. No, 100%. Let's talk about business. So a lot of our 2020 goals, business plans, those are out the window at the moment.
Yep.
If I'm a broker, what do I need to be looking at? And you addressed this a little bit, but what's the first step, and how do I start to position myself for this?
So, broker or agent, if we're talking about someone that owns a company, I'm talking to a lot of CEOs right now. And, the first thing is, and this is going to sound, should just be common sense, safety for your agents, your staff, and your team. Number 2 is get really honest about your cash flow, right? And where you're at financially. Right. I'm advising some CEOs where they had stockpiled enough cash that, hey, if you're going to furlough someone because you simply don't have the work for them, you're not opening up enough transactions, do it gracefully and help them make that transition, right, through the federal government, the state government, et cetera, for some income, right? So it's like in relationships, right? You love on these people in the beginning, and then if you're horrible at the end, like, that's also bad for your brand.
Right.
So just, number 1 is safety. Number 2 is your finances if you're a broker. And the same rule applies to an agent, right? We're telling agents right now that you need to just go through all your credit cards and just figure out what are your non-essentials,
Right.
What's all this, like the 3 gym memberships that you never went to in the first place? All the subscriptions you've been paying for that you don't really need. And I'm telling people that I work with, that I'm not going to say names in fairness to them, but
Sure.
that have tons of reserves. And I'm telling them to do the same thing, right? I think everyone needs to pay attention right now to their mortgage, right? With forbearance rules and all of that. As we're talking about this, there's been a lot of confusion with what's happening with the payroll protection program. Not confusion around the program, but around the process of actually submitting your application.
Right.
I was on the phone a couple of nights ago with one of the biggest banks in the country and talking to their lead person on SBA. And the guy and the gal, they're telling me, just tell everybody they got to get it done by this date and they're going to be fine. Then you go to all the banks and none of them even have it set up yet, right? Including the one I was talking to, right? There's a lot of confusion. And the thing that I'm telling everybody right now is, look, you got to be very clear. You got to take care of yourself.
Right.
Right. You got to ask people that are intelligent around you. But most importantly, you got to stop and you got to read and you got to get the information. You got to know what you're doing. Right. Now more than ever, just like a real estate professional is so critical to our economy and to our livelihood, so is your attorney, so is your CPA. Right. If you're not getting good information, if you're getting information from the now water cooler of Zoom or Facebook, I feel bad for you.
There's a lot of somewhat useful information, but it's hard to find. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise and there's a lot of misinformation.
It's a lot of misinformation right now, no doubt.
Yeah. So we were talking about business, and what's your advice for an agent who's facing objections from a seller who doesn't want anyone entering their home? So not realtors, photographers, inspectors.
Yeah. Let me back up first though and share with everybody the stance that I'm taking with people is, if you're a good agent and you've been generating leads for a long time, you may have leads that are 7 or 8 years old in your database. And those are just as important as the one that said to you in the beginning of March, hey, we're going to wait a little bit and see what's happening here, right? Also, all those future leads. So what I'm telling my clients is the number 10. If you're not booking 10 appointments a week right now, and Ricardo, always mindful, the first thing is, hey, Ricardo, how you doing? I'm checking in, right? So you're going to build rapport, and you're not going to present something to someone that's in hardship. You're not going to present something that someone's in a panic.
Right now, I'm telling people to just do wellness checkups.
Okay, yes, but see, we've been talking about that now for 3 weeks. Yeah. So at a certain point, right now, I'm just checking back and saying, so Ricardo, when we met in 2017, you were talking about buying a house, and obviously there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace. So what I'm doing right now is I'm scheduling 15 to 30 minute Zoom sessions where I'm able to just historically educate you on what's happened in the last 4 to 5 recessions, right? Like KCM and others, right? Here's what's happened. Then talk about what are the smartest people doing today, right? In terms of the financial world, what are they saying? What are they advising us on, right? On this whole V conversation of the recovery. And then, because I'm smart, I've been tracking the shadow inventory. And the shadow inventory is not something that most home shoppers know about. It's the listings that expired. It's the listings that were canceled. It's the listings that were withdrawn. And because I'm a good agent in the marketplace, I can reach out to those agents and say, hey, Sally, you had this property at 1234 Banana Street. I've got a client who's interested. Is your seller ready to go, or do they still want to wait? Give us a sense of the timing, right? So I'm scheduling these meetings to just walk people through everything, Ricardo, so they can make good decisions. And, we haven't chatted in a bit. So where are you at? Do you want to spend 15, 20 minutes and I can answer all of your questions? Would that work for you?
Yep.
And here's the thing, the agents that are doing that, it's not a sales pitch. Our job is to educate right now. Right now more than ever, right?
Educate, show leadership.
1000%, right? And to be able to do it, in this format is the key. Now back to your question of the objection. So let's role play. So you're my seller. I'm calling you and saying, hey, right? Hey, Ricardo, I'm checking in. I want to let you know that I've got a buyer that wants to see the property. And what we're doing today, as I mentioned to you before, and in the email and in the video that I sent you and in the phone call and in the correspondence, I was sending you smoke signals, right? Because that's what we're doing right now with all of our clients. And we should have been doing that 2 weeks ago, just to be fair. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a Zoom link. And what I'm going to ask you to do is just, if you don't mind, just walk through the house so the buyers can see the property.
Yep.
Right. This will be the first time we've done this. It's really easy. What kind of phone do you have? Okay, good. iPhone. Great. I'm going to send you a link. You're going to hit the button, and literally myself and the buyer's agent are going to just ask you questions about the property. And look, no one knows your home better than you. So you're going to share everything. And that's how they're doing it. Now, when it comes to what about the professional photographer? Again, dependent upon where you are in the country, it's going to be different, right? Common sense. You with me? Wherever you're listening to this, know the rules of your state, right? The federal government has said we're all essential, okay? And yet states get to still govern.
Right.
Your MLS, your association, your brokerage, your board, they're still making decisions on a local level to protect everybody.
Right.
So in some cases, agents are being resourceful and saying to the seller, look, I need you just to take some photos on your phone, send them to me, right? We'll edit them. We'll make them as pretty as we can. Do yourself a favor. Don't stand in front of the bathroom mirror and take a photo of yourself inside there. We've all seen that photo enough. And in many cases, that's what people are doing, right? They're also doing the same thing with video. I want you to walk to the house and just show us on video. But here's the thing, ready? What it really comes down to is the question that's on everybody's mind. And that's timing. Timing to sell my home, timing to buy my home. And the reality is everybody's got a different, timing issue. Like I told this story recently that, tragically, someone yesterday was hit by a car or died of a heart attack. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden now, the spouse with their 2 kids mm-hmm. can't afford that house.
Nope.
And they're in a state of panic. And with all that's happening in the world, they need to sell their home.
Right.
A good agent is going to be able to navigate that and take care of that person. And here's the thing. They also want to buy a home, right? Because they want to keep the kids in the same school district.
Right.
So we've got those situations that we need to be mindful of. And
people
then
are always going to still need to buy or sell real estate.
Hey, shelter is always going to be a thing. Mm-hmm. You with me? And every agent knows this. You work in arguably the single greatest sector of the US GDP, right? Housing. So you got to be mindful. You got to be resourceful, right? And if someone says, I just don't want anybody in my house right now, that tells me that you might have a trust issue with that person. Mm-hmm. That it's time to slow down and say, Ricardo, let's just check in. How you doing? We can pause the listing. The rule in negotiation is it always starts like this. I'm here to support you.
Right.
I have your back 100%. That's negotiation 101 right now. In a crisis and always take care of your clients. Make sense?
100%. So given our things that I tell people is you always need to be building a pipeline of future business. Right now, if you have the budget to advertise, we're still running ads for some of our agents. How do you stand on advertising? The way I see it is screen time is up, ad cost is down. So how do you tackle and how do you approach that?
Yeah, cost per lead is down across the board,
mm-hmm.
right? People have their phones in their hands 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're really paying attention right now. It's interesting. We did a training on Monday of this week, and we were looking at just the Facebook cost per impression, cost per lead, cost per mm-hmm. click, and it is so far down. I interviewed Greer Allen, CEO of Boomtown recently, and we looked at theirs. We all can see the public numbers of, Realtor.com and Zillow mm-hmm. and others, right? Again, it all comes down to the individual. Right. So I have clients right now that are saying, hey, I'm going to put up 19 billboards in my marketplace with hashtag 904 we're strong. Mm. And they can afford to do that. But we got to be mindful. There's a lot of people out there that are trying to figure out like how they're going to eat next month.
Right.
So I just say case by case, person by person. Every one of us has a phone. Every one of us can send personal videos from our phone to every person in your database, one at a time, not mass, one at a time. Checking in, Ricardo, how you doing? Got any questions? Do want to let you know there's actually activity happening in the marketplace. A lot of people are asking me, is this going to impact their home's value? If you want to have that conversation one-on-one, just hit reply and tell me yes, and we'll schedule a time, right? If you're not prospecting right now, if you're not marketing right now intelligently with the right tone, what's going to happen is we will get through this, right? We're going to get through this, and no one's got a crystal ball, right? And I'm certainly no Nostradamus, right? Like you listen to what people are saying. Some people are saying May, some people are saying June. I don't know, but I know this. When it happens, Ricardo, you and I are going to say, let's race and go meet for a beer, man. Let's, you know what I mean? I want to get together. I can't wait to take my wife to dinner. I can't wait to meet my friends. And if you see what's going on right now in China, and I'm sure you're reading the same things, they're out buying houses right now.
Yep.
Right. So we can see whether it's, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days, we know the pent up demand is there.
Yep.
People still need to buy and sell real estate. It's going to happen. So if you're not marketing, if you're not staying relevant with your leads, your database, and however you market, geographic farming and, digital advertising. If you're not doing that, right, you're going to be starting at zero. As everybody else that did is really kicking ass and moving forward. Excuse my French.
You're either adapting or getting left behind. Big time.
You're either marketing right now or you're choosing to not have a paycheck until around September. That's the reality, right? We have to listen. You got to prospect, you got to nurture, and you got to meet with people. We're just doing all three of those. That's been for 31 years of my time in this industry. Prospect, nurture, meet with people, right? Always and forever. Just differently today. So the answer is, if you got the budget, you should be going all in.
All right. One last question. If you were an agent, what's the one thing you would do or that you would want to get done during quarantine if you did nothing else?
Safety is always the first thing that goes on my mind, right? So as long as you have, assuming you've already reached out to every person you know and just connected authentically, this is just, there's always triumph in tragedy, right? And what I'm seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing too, not forget the psychopaths that are out there. I'm seeing people bond and connect at a deeper level, whether it's a spiritual level or emotional level. And I just, for me, like that just makes my heart sing, right? So that's the first thing. Here's the second thing though. You ready? Now is the time to sharpen your axe, right? Now is the time to get better, right? What we're seeing is a lot of people, and I always go back to that kind of third to third. There's a lot of people right now that are like freaking out because where they used to go to the receptionist at their office and say, can you get my password? Because I can't find this and I don't know how to upload this. And can you just do this for me? And now guess what? They're SOL. So I'm telling people, we publish something like just a digital guide, like 75 resources that agents could use today. And, non-denominational, you got, Microsoft Teams, you got Zoom, you got Google Hangouts, and just tutorials. Because I'm telling people, if you're not sharpening your axe, ready, on technology, sharpening your axe on marketing and messaging, sharpening your axe on your ability to negotiate, sharpening your axe, and you all know the metaphor, right? The two guys that are working, only one's going to get the job, right? Okay, chop down those trees, but only one of you gets the job, and the one guy just starts chop, 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 and the other guy takes 45 minutes and sharpens his axe, gets better, gets faster, gets more efficient. He's the one that gets the job. There's a lot of screen time right now. I don't think you need to be watching the news for 3 or 4 hours a day unless depression's on the height of your list of things to do for the day, right? But to spend time on YouTube, to spend the time on tutorials, to spend time reading, listening to audiobooks, that's the game right now. The mentally tough people know we're going to get through this. I just got to get better because it's going to be different on the other side of this. Right? Do you really, could you imagine only doing your listing presentations via Zoom? I have some agents that are like, man, this is really cool. I'm digging this. And the sellers dig it and I dig it. And they, on their phone, they walk me through their house, right? Yes, of course, I eventually got to see the product, but everyone knows if you're a good agent, you sold a house before that you never saw. Right? I mean, that could become I have clients right now doing virtual open houses, right? With the seller walking through the house, right? Getting offers, right? We're seeing that on the daily. I have a young gal up in Maryland, Neo is her name, Neo, like Morpheus and Neo in the Matrix. Like she's just so rad that one of the things we taught 2 years ago was you should be doing seminars for first-time buyers. So she's been doing that forever. But guess what? Now, Ricardo, she sends me a screenshot and there's 20 people on a Zoom session and she's doing it that way.
That's awesome.
Right? It's going to be different. And if you were feeling left behind on sales, marketing, negotiation, and technology before this is your chance. This is your chance to lean in. You can learn whatever you want. The moment you say, I can learn this, you can, because you can read, you can study, you can watch a tutorial, you could probably even ask questions in a chat box. Like, you can do this, right? Don't get in that fixed mindset of, I don't understand. My personal client's 83. Her name is Maxine Gellens down in La Jolla. We're on a Zoom session yesterday. She's telling me about her Zoom listing appointment that she was just on for a $1 million oceanfront.
That's awesome. That's
right?
awesome.
Get over yourself.
Tom, thank you for helping us make sense of some of this chaos. I know a lot of people still, need help getting over the hump, organizing their mindset, sharpening their axe, et cetera. I know you got a coaching program that you're running, Pivot. Do you want to share that with the group?
Yeah, listen, if it's something you're interested in, if you go to tomferry.com, you can see it's really about super low cost, massive value training. I actually, when we created this thing, like 7, 8, now let's see, 10 days ago, we actually thought to ourselves, gosh, if we could just deliver 2 trainings a week where we cover negotiation and technology and, marketing
Mm,
and sales. And the first week out of the gate, we did 6 trainings, right? So we promised 2 a week. We did 6. Next week, we're doing another 6 because right now the demand is just really high.
mm-hmm.
And what I acknowledge is people are at various stages of negotiation skills,
Right.
various stages of technology. So we're trying to cover everything. And it reminds me of, because I'm older than you are, like when I was a kid, we had a thing called the TV guide. No, I'm not referring to like when you go onto your,
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
DVR player and look at the
No,
schedule.
paper at
We
the
got,
checkout aisle.
yeah, I got a physical book, and we would go through as kids, and oh man, Snoopy's going to be on Saturday at 4 o'clock, and you'd highlight it, you rip it out, and you put it up on the wall. And that's what I'm telling people. Like, I'm putting out so much content. Some people will just get overloaded by it, right? They'll get confused by it because I'm just trying to give as much as I can. And then I tell people, look, it's like the TV guide. You don't have to listen to everything. You just got to say, oh, I need to understand Zoom better. I need to know how to use BombBomb better. I really need to make sure I can, use Zoom to make
Right.
presentations, for example. And you just check into that. So that's the kind of stuff we're doing.
Right. Thanks, Tom. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Thank you for imparting some words of wisdom. Appreciate you.
You got it, man. I appreciate you and all the good work. And listen, we've known each other for a long time. We've been doing this stuff for a long time. So I'm proud of you, man. So thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.